Welcome to a totally different side of REPCO Auto Parts Vic. Commonly known as the automotive engineering side of the business, this is not something new to REPCO. In fact, it is as old as REPCO itself and still going strong in the 1990s. You will see in the next 15 minutes or so the type of work REPCO Automotive Engineering can carry out effectively, efficiently, with a minimum of fuss. Coupled up with those services, of course, are our pickup and delivery services with a modern fleet. Welcome to a totally different side of REPCO Auto Parts Vic. Commonly known as the automotive engineering side of the business, this is not something new to REPCO. In fact, it is as old as REPCO itself and still going strong in the 1990s. You will see in the next 15 minutes or so the type of work REPCO Automotive Engineering can carry out effectively, efficiently, with a minimum of fuss. Coupled up with those services, of course, are our pickup and delivery services with a modern fleet of vehicles, as you can see. Some of these guys weren't aware of the camera being on them. You will see some funny scenes, although once they knew what the camera was all about, they all did their part to participate. This is our front counter, Craig and Kevin discussing a job about to go out. Craig has just spotted the camera and just can't help himself. He's about to come back and do his bit for us. That's Gary Turner. We will catch up with him a little bit later on in the footage. The showroom is a very basic, simple showroom consisting of engineering products, large valves, crankshafts, camshafts. This is Craig, where Craig is the clerk, answering the phones, queries, counter sales, and a whole host of things that goes with his duties. Short arc welding is just one of the features of the workshop, internal, external grinding, and many, many other things which go through as the film progresses. REPCO reliability, of course, speaks for itself. These are the old heads, and this is the starting point in the workshop where the old heads, whether they're cracked, cooked, bent, or whatever reason, are coming back into the workshop for rework and changeover for the purpose of changeover sales. There is a host of them, anything from Magnas, VLs, diesel cast irons. In fact, you name it, we get it. There is not a single head out in the marketplace that cannot be repaired by our workshops. This is the cleaning part of the workshop where the heads are dismantled and cleaned, just panning around quickly to give you an outlook of the general shop and the machinery that are sitting in it. Soon we will take it machine by machine and we will show you what the workshop is capable of doing. Meet Kevin Stoneham, our leading tradesman in the engineering department. Kevin is responsible to the general engineering work, such as this machine. He is in fact boring, horizontal boring, a large housing of a compressor. The machine itself is called a Wotan, and that's exactly what it is, a large horizontal borer or a large line boring machine. This particular product was in fact flogged out, ran out of oil. Kevin is boring a large hole in it to in fact make a new cast iron bush, press fit it inside, remachine it, and salvage the whole compressor body. This compressor body, in fact, if it was replaced, it would cost the customer somewhere in the vicinity of about $30,000. We can salvage this particular product with what Kevin's doing for a rough cost of around about $2,000. Just as we get a close-up of the actual Wotan, that's how Kevin is setting it up, getting his lines, and in fact that head will expand to in fact bore it. Kevin stoned him again on a large mill with a Mac block on top where it has flogged the main bearing caps. He's machining those caps flat again and in line and parallel with the other caps. And there's the flogged one now with Kevin trying to give it a new surface. A very handy machine, especially where large milling work such as this one has to be performed. Machines like this, of course, need good operators to make it all happen, and Kevin would be one of the best that we know of in the business. This machine is a planer, a rather large one. It's called a butler. Kevin is setting up a milling table to be remachined flat, where they lose it over the years. They get wavy, they get pitted, they get rusty, and Kevin is in fact getting all the measurements now to get it flat, and he'll remachine that bed flat and perhaps grind it depending on the customer's requirements. The machine is quite capable of handling very, very large items, as much as weight-wise 2 to 3 tonne, and I have in fact seen up to 4 tonne put on it. The machine is capable of planing with a tool and in fact capable of finishing it off with a grinder as well, where a grinding pattern is necessary to retain oil on slides, dovetails, beds and other common things associated with machinery of such. The machine itself is driven by its own power plant. That is the motor for it there. That in fact is a generator that drives that motor. It is powered by DC power, not AC. The sheer size of the machine dictates it to sit on about 7 foot of concrete. I have no idea on its weight, but I certainly would hate to carry it on my shoulders. Into our head section and meet Bruce Carroll. Bruce is the head section foreman and in our opinion the best in the business. He's responsible for the quality of the product put out by the workshop, as he's doing right now with this VL head. I believe he's checking valve stem protrusion and the general quality of the head before final assembly. That is a fully assembled head of a Gemini, which Bruce has already checked. It's ready to go to its section to be repackaged. Bruce, of course, will not do this with every head. He will pick a head at random out of a batch and do this with. Meet John Mason, a bit camera shy. He goes his helmet. That's our welder. John is an expert in his field of welding aluminium. This is one such of a VL, very, very difficult head to weld. As we can see there, he's getting right inside the cam tunnels where they normally crack in this particular type of head. Meet Paul Baldrini. Paul is one of our good all-rounders. Paul can also execute any operation in the workshop. At the moment, he's setting up a head in a SERDI, vacuum testing, and will be cutting seats in due course. Paul is also an excellent crankshaft grinder, head person, assembling engines. In general, whatever you give Paul, Paul can usually handle. Rob Vigilante. Rob is a third-year apprentice. He's at the moment setting up a head for pressure testing. Alloy heads, because of the nature of the material, cannot be crack tested as cast irons. The only effective way of testing aluminium heads for cracks or porosity is in fact with this procedure, which is pressure testing, a warm liquid going through the head, the same as the cooling system, pressurized well beyond the normal cooling system of a motor car. In most cases, we pressurize them up to about 80 psi. Any flaws or porosity in the head is instantly shown by this procedure. It entails bolting a set of plates of different configurations to the head and pressurizing it. This is Darren Saltmarsh, perhaps the youngest employee we've got in the workshop. Darren is learning the trade. As usual, from the bottom, he is in fact operating a bead blaster, and Darren's main job is to prepare the heads ready for welding, and that is exactly what he's doing here, bead blasting them with all the dirt and everything off them for the welder to start welding them. Luke Ferguson has just joined us, first-year apprentice. Again, we're introducing Luke to work in the most basic areas, such as cleaning valves and components of heads, ready for the next operation. Some of the equipment without any people, the hot tank, the electromagnetic crack detector. It is a rather large magnetic crack detector. It is capable of crack detecting large blocks, such as Cummins or Max or Caterpillars. We believe it's the largest in the region. A large turbo wash, where it's jet sprayed and high pressure, will clean components. A coal tank or a soaking tank. On to crankshaft grinding. This is the larger machine of the two that we have, an 84-inch crank grinder. Meet Frank Van Horn. He would be our leading crankshaft grinding person. He has got a Bedford crank in the crankshaft grinder at the moment, doing the anes with the follower, checking for ovality. Frank has served his apprenticeship with REPCO. He's been a qualified tradesman for quite some time, enjoys his work, has done it for a long time, and very, very good at what he does. Meet Peter Gilman, another third-year apprentice. Peter came to us from Wangaratta branch. He will make an excellent tradesman one day. He is a typical head repairman. He is in fact removing a broken stud at the moment of a VL Commodore head. A very troublesome head, I might add. He's having a lot of trouble by the look of it. Kevin Stoneham again with an unusual type of product in a cylindrical machine, cylindrical grinder. It's very much a precision grinder, and that particular product he's got in there is the female partner of a screw type compressor product, where the end where the bearing sits has been flogged out. They've in fact reclaimed it, been metal sprayed, and Kevin is final grinding it back to size. Tolerances within 2 to 3/10 of a thou, Kevin can get them on that machine. Taking the measurement to ensure that the finished product will in fact match the bearing collar to go on it. Readjusting the grinder, I would say that this might be the final cut according to Kevin's calculations, and that will be the finished product once this cut is finished. Alan Hodges, our boring and honing man. I believe that is a Sigma block sitting on the honer, which Alan is doing his final operation of honing and measuring the bore with a bore micrometer, top and bottom for taper. The machines, of course, are programmed to give the exact bore finish required by today's standards, which is very, very critical in modern motor cars, as unless you get that final finish correct, they will burn oil, regardless of what you do. The correct grade, the correct pattern, the correct... everything has got to go into that honing operation. One of the smaller type operations of the business, where we check valve spring on-seat pressures. This is Gary O'Donnell. He is the leading hand in the head section, and Gary is checking some valve springs for on-seat pressure. The good ones, of course, we will reuse. The ones that don't measure up to specs will either be thrown away or in fact compensated by VSI washers. Meet Gary Turner, the workshop foreman. Gary has been with the company for quite a long time. served his apprenticeship with REPCO. Quite a versatile type tradesman, conversant with many of the machines that are in the workshop. At the moment he's setting up a camshaft for reprofiling purposes. I believe the camshaft is a Ford. He's setting it up. And the camshaft grinder virtually is like a key cutting machine. There is a master in there that the machine bed follows up and down, as you can probably see it rocking backwards and forwards in conjunction with the lobes off the actual camshaft. Gary will now bring the grinding wheel in contact with the lobe to be ground, set his cut, and in fact let the machine do the normal would be around about 10th thou of each lobe would reprofile most of camshafts. Some do get flogged out and the cam lobes do get eaten away. They can be reclaimed with a special procedure, which we are also capable of doing. Gary is in fact dressing the stone at the moment with an internal dresser in there. Once he sets his cut, and there's the result where the bed is following the master and the lobe is being ground to the specific cut that was put in there. Neil Pirani. Neil is also a very versatile tradesman. He's a turner and fitter. He's a good head repairman, and he's also our balancing man, which at the moment he's balancing a bottom end of a V8, a common Holden V8, where he's checking the weight of the rod with some precise digital scales. He will now match them to the other rods that he has already weighed. On a special belt sander, he will take some weight off it. The weight is taken off the big end where there is a cast provision for this type of operation. This is the crankshaft off the same V8 to be balanced, where it's bolted up with counterweights. The machine controls where they say where the weight is out. The same machine is also capable of balancing anything that will sit in its rollers and be capable of spinning. Neil's about to spin the crank up, which he's done so. He's now checking where the weight is not right. Once he has done so, he'll set it up in the appropriate position and remove some metal from the counterweight of the actual crank itself. Just some of the machines available in the workshops to run through them quickly is a very large lathe used extensively for large engineering jobs and automotive. Large radial drill, which is an automatic setup drill. This is John Luxford, training to be a welder. He is a tradesman in his own right, as a fitter and turner. And wishes to learn more. Therefore, he's into the welding section, learning the finer art of preparation before actual welding. This is the pin fitting section for resizing conrods, pin boring small end bushes, piston.
You probably think of REPCO as the place you call when you want an automotive spare part in a hurry. And maybe you don't use us for much else. But REPCO is more than a speedy supplier of parts to the trade. REPCO has several divisions, all directly or indirectly involved in satisfying the trade's needs. One which we are very proud of and which has a long history of efficiency and service is our network of engine reconditioning centres, our workshops. You may know that we have close to 250 auto parts branches throughout Australia in every state and territory. But did you know that we also have more than 60 engine reconditioning centres too? Some are attached to a branch, while others are totally separate operations. Experienced, highly skilled tradespeople are there to service your needs. And as you'll soon see, there's not much they can't do. Every engine reconditioning centre has access to its own extensive range of components to complete your job. That stock range is further supported by the huge inventory at our 6 capital city distribution centres. Your engine reconditioning job can be with us in a variety of ways. You can take the job directly to either any REPCO branch or to the nearest engine reconditioning centre. You can telephone us and we'll come and pick it up from you. Or you can send it by your own nominated transport service. Once it's with us, you can rest assured that it's in safe hands. Let's just run through some of the many and varied types of work we can handle. One of our specialties is cylinder head reconditioning. The first step when a job arrives in is always to get it dismantled and thoroughly cleaned. Not a nice job, but a very necessary one. Industry standard equipment is used through each stage to ensure that both manufacturers' tolerances and our own high standards are adhered to. Pressure testing is performed to detect cracks and check porosity in today's alloy and diesel heads at up to 6 times the normal running pressure. Depending on the inspector's report, a number of engineering solutions may be recommended to repair the head. Surface grinding is an important process to maintain an effective seal between the cylinder head and block surfaces. Today's high compression and high revving engines are far less forgiving than they used to be, requiring measuring of deck heights of blocks, cylinder head thicknesses and parallelism of block surfaces to the camshaft tunnels. The difficult job of straightening and welding cracked aluminium heads is done by our highly skilled operators. Injector tube fitting is also a necessary part of remanufacturing large truck and earth-moving equipment heads. Valve guides are replaced or re-sleeved. Worn valves are refaced or, if necessary, replaced. Valve seat cutting and machining is performed using the latest in engineering technology for cost-efficient remanufacturing, and if necessary, famous well-tight or Martite inserts are fitted. And after reassembly, we re-pressure test and check that we not only adhere to the highest standards of accuracy, but also to stipulated manufacturer's tolerances. Then we back our work with REPCO's Australia-wide warranty. And by the way, we don't just work on ordinary passenger vehicle engines. We're experienced in a wide range of automotive engineering services and can handle anything from a tiny two-stroke motor to large agricultural and heavy engineering machinery. Tailshaft, crankshaft, industrial and high-performance balancing is a job for the experts. We have the equipment, know-how and expert operators to do the job right. REPCO's engine reconditioning centres can profile camshaft lobes to the manufacturer's specifications or to individual requirements for racing. From our complete range of cam masters, we can profile your cams to give you maximum efficiency for sports, high performance and competition grinds. Cam followers can also be checked and radius ground. On completion of grinding operations, camshafts are immersed in a luberizing bath which puts a phosphorus anti-scuff coating on all wearing surfaces. REPCO is one of the very few companies in Australia who can professionally perform the highly skilled job of crankshaft cold rolling. This operation ensures the compressive strength required on today's heavy diesel crankshafts meet the ever-increasing horsepower demands from today's big rigs. Electromagnetic crack testing of engine blocks, crankshafts, cast iron cylinder heads, industrial machinery is just another service available at our REPCO engine reconditioning centres. Cylinder boring, honing and sleeving is cheaper than buying a new engine and gives an old engine a new lease on life. Line boring of blocks, heads and overhead cam tunnels after stress and excess load can also be carried out. Other services which can be provided are gudgeon pin fitting, conrod resizing, flywheel facing, manifold repairs, crankshaft journal reclamation, and brake, disc and drum machining. And just about any kind of general engineering work is within our scope, whether it be equipment reconditioning, major overhauls on large machinery, lathe work, or mill beds. You name it, and REPCO's engine reconditioning centres have available the tooling, the experts, and the equipment to undertake the job. We're also well known for our quality remanufactured exchange engines, cylinder heads, and oil pumps. As we have stressed a number of times already, all components are remanufactured to exacting tolerances and original equipment specifications with REPCO's stamp of approval and Australia-wide warranty. REPCO engine reconditioning centres are your one-stop shop for reconditioning and engineering services, remanufactured components, automotive spare parts and credit facilities. And all our engine reconditioning centres have online computer access to the largest range of engine hard parts in Australia and direct liaison with local manufacturers and importers. We've been in the business for a long time and are proud of our reputation as the specialists in the trade for both private and commercial automotive engineering services. We are constantly upgrading with new machinery, refurbished equipment, better working environments and operator training to ensure that we keep on leading the way. So next time you need work done, you need go no further than REPCO, the only Australia-wide parts supplier with workshops. Talk to your rep, branch manager or engine reconditioning centre manager about how we can help you.